When it comes to love stories, some start with a meet cute, some start with a misunderstanding, and some start with a girl hitting a man in the face with a frying pan. Welcome back to Date Like the Movies. It's not just for Hollywood. The podcast where dating meets the movies and where we take fairy tale romances entirely too seriously. Today we are diving into Tangled, a movie that taught us about independence, boundaries, glowing magic hair, and the undeniable chemistry between a sheltered, artistic sunshine girl and a sarcastic thief with incredible smolder. And today's guest, my friend Sarah, and one of the biggest Rapunzel super fans I know. She's fun, she's honest, and most importantly, she's an open book and has strong opinions about Flynn Rider, Mother Gothel, Lantern Dates, and how to do a proper hair flip. Sarah, welcome back to the show.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I feel like I heard you giggle a bit when I said open book.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the best kind of podcast guest is like
Yep.
yourself. They're just telling it like it is. So, welcome back. For any new listeners, this show, this podcast is all about spoilers. If you haven't seen Tangled before, you may want to check it out before we get into it today, if you care about that sort of thing. Before we get swept up in lanterns, love, and life-changing hair decisions, let's rewind and revisit the whirlwind fairy tale that is Tangled. Our story begins with a kingdom on high alert. The queen is sick, the people are desperate, and a magical flower becomes the miracle cure that saves both mother and unborn child. But that same magic catches the eye of someone with, let's say, not the healthiest attachment style, Mother Gothel, a woman who has secretly used the flower to keep herself young for centuries, discovers that its power has now transferred into the queen's baby daughter, Rapunzel. And naturally, she steals the child and raises her in a hidden tower, telling her the outside world is full of dangers, taking helicopter parenting to a whole other toxic level. Rapunzel grows up, creative, curious, and armed with 70 feet of magically glowing hair. Every year on her birthday, she sees mysterious floating lights in the sky and dreams of discovering where they come from. And here enters Flynn Rider, charismatic thief, professional smolderer, and man who absolutely did not plan on stumbling into a captive princess's living room. After an escape gone wrong, Flynn hides out in Rapunzel's tower, and let's just say she greets him with the world's most underestimated weapon, the frying pan. What follows? A deal. She'll return the crown he stole if he guides her to the floating lanterns. It's a road trip full of thugs, palace guards, glowing hair hacks, an aggressively judgmental horse, and two people slowly discovering who they really are when they stop pretending. That's Tangled in a nutshell, an escape story, a love story with adventure, and a story about choosing the life you were meant for. All right, well, let's get to it. So, Sarah, Tangled is a movie we both really love. We both enjoy it. So, what is it about Tangled that hooks you in and makes it one of your favorites?
It's everything. So the music is so good. It's so funny. The entire storyline, just how it's done. And then, of course, my girl Rapunzel, because she is strong. She's independent. She stands up for herself. I see a lot of myself in her in a way. And I can't blame her for using a frying pan of choice when a man that she's never seen before enters her home. So,
That's very true. Yeah, when you put it like that, uh, and the character chemistry in this film, I think, is off the charts. I also love it too because it has this great balance of being romantic, but not being overly cheesy, and it's got the sense of humor and funny kind of underlining it all. And sometimes it's hard for movies to find that balance. Tango does it like flawlessly, in my opinion. Oh.
I agree. I agree.
Now, why does it resonate with you so much?
First, I wish I had Rapunzel's hair. I'm going to say that. So
It's
Wish I had
amazing.
the long 70-foot blonde hair. But I think Rapunzel's character, she's very strong. She knows who she is, and she's not gonna let anyone stand in her way. And I feel that. So I feel like
Hmm.
I have those similar qualities to Rapunzel. Strong, independent, really doesn't take anything from anyone, and stands up for herself. And that's what I love about her. And she's fun, creative. I can be when I apply myself, but I see a lot of similarities between her and I. So
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. You have so much in common with Rapunzel. Well, let's dig deeper into some of the relationship dynamics between Rapunzel and Flynn Rider, or Eugene. As we find out, he's going by a fake name, or not his real name when you start the movie. But how do you feel about how they meet? Again, kind of going back to that frying pan first impression scene.
I said it before, I'll say it again. If I was Rapunzel in those shoes, right, I've never left the tower. She's probably never seen, like, a grown man before other than, like, just out her window, but who knows, like, what kind of stuff she was seeing from her window. I would probably freak out too. So, I love that she hits him with the frying pan. I'm not condoning violence, but in any way, shape, or form. But I feel like that was very fitting to someone who's never experienced someone breaking and entering their home. So I think it's funny that she holds him hostage, but she doesn't know she's holding him hostage. She ties him up. And then I think Pascal, her little chameleon, he wakes him up, right? She shoves him in the closet. Like, she goes through all these different things. And props to Flynn Rider for not completely running away after that, because that had to have been scary for him. Not the best first impression, but also don't break into her house, you know?
I will say, if there's a time to condone violence, it would be that situation where some strange guy is suddenly in your house and you have a frying pan nearby, and you know what? You got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
And the hair is so many uses for her
Yep.
hair. And early on, we see, you know what? You can use it as hostage,
Yep.
as a hostage tool. Very resourceful and creative. Yes, like you mentioned, she is. I think it's interesting too because I feel like most fairy tales go, the hero rescues the princess, there's romantic sparks. Tangled goes, princess knocks the hero out, hides him, interrogates him, and, and that's the start to their fairy tale, uh, I guess, Disney romance. You mentioned something too on Rapunzel, where you mentioned, when she first meets Flynn, she doesn't know anything else outside of being in that tower. To her, that's her world. Any more thoughts about kind of her state of mind and personality she may have had when she meets Flynn there in those early moments?
I feel like she biologically must have known that something wasn't right, because how would she have known to defend herself? But also, I think that's just her personality. I think she's just kind of cautious because she's been trained and brought up to be cautious from Mother Gothel. She's not allowed to do anything. So I think that definitely is part of it, um, and probably most of it.
What about Flynn? His early moments in that film. What do you view his kind of personality and state of mind at?
Well, what's funny is a few minutes ago you mentioned that he's the hero. And I don't think you feel that in the very beginning, because you're like, oh, he might be another villain if you aren't familiar with the story. So for him, I feel like he's not the hero. He's just breaking into her house. Um,
He's a thief.
yeah, he's literally wanted for stealing.
Yes, he is literally a thief. I feel like very has a sense of swagger about him. Um, when they're kind of meeting in those early moments. He attempts to win Rapunzel over with what he refers to as the smolder, which I'm not exactly sure how to do it. I guess I'm gonna attempt to do it. It's this look of, giving a woman this look that's supposed to just make them, I guess, fall head over heels for him. but it doesn't work on Rapunzel. And so why do you see that not working on her?
Well, so I think that Flynn is used to charming women, right? With his sarcasm, he's actually really funny. Um, some women like the sarcasm and the smolder with the look when he like squints his eyes and puckers his lips, right? Um, I think that would work on some women, but Rapunzel's like, what is happening? So I think that's something that she misses out on, would have been, like, flirting in the world outside of her tower. So she's probably like, "What is wrong with this guy? Is he okay?" Like, maybe I hit him too hard with the frying pan. I don't think it works on her because she just sees right through it. She's like, "You broke in here. Why are you trying to, impress me now?"
That's so true, where she has no experience with flirting. She has no experience with romantic signals or, men trying to impress you. Uh, no clue. Because she doesn't know it. She wasn't raised up in that. She has no experiences with anything in that realm. What happened to my virtual background? I just think went away. No worries. We'll just keep rolling. Sarah, what do you see as the biggest green flags of Rapunzel and Flynn?
This was a really hard question for me. Because I think, at first, Flynn's red flags outweigh his green ones, so I found one, and I think that because she wants to go see the lanterns. She's like, "I need to see the lanterns. Let's do that," and he actually takes her to do that, and I feel like he didn't have to. He could have been like, "Absolutely not. Just give me what I came here for, and I'll get out of your hair." So, I think that kind of shows that he has some good in him. He just chooses when to use it. For Rapunzel, she is open minded and curious. And one thing that really stands out to me throughout the entire movie about her is how she goes from because when they leave, if you remember her, she slides down her hair to get out of the tower
Awesome
and she's
moment.
scared to put her feet on the ground,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
right? And she's kind of hesitant in the beginning, but then once she gets out, she embraces it. And she's the same way with people. So, um, when they go to that bar, the Ugly Duckling, I think it's
Love
called,
that scene. Yeah.
and she's, like, getting them all to, like, break out in song, I think that just encapsulates all of her green flags. Um, so that's how I feel about Rapunzel, although she could get herself in trouble very easily if she continues to remain curious and, open-minded and not being able to discern when to not use that, so
What about Flynn?
just giving her that chance to take her out when he didn't have to. Um, I think he's kind of he becomes open-minded towards the end. He's not in the beginning. I think one of his green flags is proceeding with caution with things. That's how they balance each other out. I found more than one. When he takes her out on a journey and he didn't have to, and his ability to be cautious, kind of read the room and what.
Do you see any red flags between
Yeah,
either?
absolutely. So I
Okay.
think one of Rapunzel's red flags is she's actually too free-spirited.
Okay.
That can get her in trouble. Um, if this was like the modern day and age, sometimes being too spontaneous or too free-spirited, shows that you're not serious, depending on who you are and what you're looking for. So I'd say that's her biggest red flag is just being too free-spirited and not being able to read the room. And then for Flynn, I mean, the fact that he's wanted for stealing,
That's a huge
he's not
one.
like
That's like a huge one.
every single wanted poster. Um, and what's funny is he's always like, "They can never get my nose right." That's like the best sarcasm and funniness that he has. I think that he kind of cons people out of things. And then he doesn't like that horse. What is wrong with you, man? You don't like horses? Yeah, be nice to Maximus. Maybe if you weren't stealing, Maximus would like you too. So Flynn's got a few red flags in my book.
Yeah. In the end, Maximus and Flynn, I think, come around. Shaky for a while there between those two. Flynn definitely is a thief. So he's selfish. He's dishonest. I mean, there's quite a few there that he has. Rapunzel, one for her, I feel like she can easily fall victim to manipulation. Not always her fault necessarily, just the way she was raised. She trusts easily, and so in this case, she's
Mhm.
very trusting, like very fast to this thief that has broken into her house, and she's trusts him pretty fast in the movie. But let's talk about one of my favorite things we do on the podcast called Date That Movie. Always like to do this, give creative date ideas inspired by the movie in some way. So, Sarah, what are you thinking for Tangled inspired Date That Movie ideas? What you got?
Yeah, so I had to think about this for a minute because I was like, well, there's not many things that I would wanna do. I wouldn't wanna go to a bar and get people to break out into song. I don't think that's a good date idea unless you wanted to do karaoke. So for me, I took the lantern scene
Like it.
to make it modern. So, like, maybe fireworks. I don't know if I would personally go on a canoe ride with my significant other. I love him. I just don't like boats. Big boats are fine, but boats that I can fall out of, absolutely not. So my recommendation for a date would be fireworks, a light show even. Like around here, we have the planetarium that does light shows inside of it. So I think that would be a fun thing to do together with your significant other.
I love it. And you gave a few bonus ideas, perhaps, maybe without even realizing it. Karaoke could be. If somebody was into karaoke, could maybe pull that one out. You don't like boats. I'm not big on boats, but somebody else might like the idea. Boat Ride for Two, it is one of the most well-known scenes in the movie with those lanterns. Yeah, fireworks, light show, lots of fun, very romantic too. I think when you think about those types of dates with your significant other. I'll add one with the lantern date idea. And this is not really specific to the lanterns, but what I love about that is making her dream happen. That's really what it's all about, is making this dream of hers happen. And so I love the idea of making a dream happen for your significant other. Right. And so if you have an idea of something they really want to do, they've been looking to do for a long time, an opportunity to plan it either together or surprise them, whatever kind of more your cup of tea. But I love how the lantern date spoke to me in terms of, let's do something that's plan a dream date and make it happen. And then my other idea is more on the comical side, something with a frying pan. We got to have some day with a frying pan. Maybe we're cooking together. I don't know, but I feel like you got to weave the frying pan in there some way to get that on the date. But lots of ideas from Tangle. Moving on from date ideas to the arch nemesis of the movie, the woman known as Gothel, who is Rapunzel's kidnapper slash pretending to be her mom all those years. Um, but yeah, really curious, Sarah, to get your thoughts on Gothel and especially how do you see kind of her relate to controlling relationships in real life and kind of do you see any connections there or similarities?
Yeah, so first of all, I think people like her. Um it's her rules, but she doesn't make them seem like they're rules. She just makes it seem like they're normal, like expectations, I guess, in a way. And then the gaslighting that happens with that. That's a popular term, gaslighting, right, in
It
today's
is.
day and
Yes, it
age.
is.
Um, but I think that's exactly what she does to Rapunzel is she'll say, "No, you can't do this. You already know. We can't do that for your birthday. You ask every year. Why would you even ask that?" Or, "We've never done that before. Why do you think it has anything to do with your birthday?" And it's like Rapunzel knows deep down that it has something to do on her birthday. Like, she continues to be gaslit. She continues to have these expectations of no expectation, really. Don't expect anything from me, even though I'm your mother. Um, mother, right? So I just think it's a combination of making up rules, and then when they're questioned by Rapunzel, she makes it seem like those are normal things that people deal with their mother. That whole "Mother Knows Best" song is extremely toxic. Um, and that's gaslighting her into making it all seem like it's normal. So,
I had the same thought around gaslighting as I was thinking
mhm.
about her and the movie. Folks in that situation, they'll hear things like, "You're just imagining things. You're overreacting. You're too naive to understand." I found this quote, Sarah. I'm going to just share it with you. This is not my words, but it's a quote I found around her, and I'd like to get your thoughts on it. It says, quote, "Gothel is one of Disney's most realistic villains because she isn't a monster, a sorcerer, or a conqueror. She's an emotional abuser."
I agree with that, and I think that's one of the reasons why Tangled is so popular, and I know more adults that like Tangled than children.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
I think it's because as you get older, you kind of see that and how people around you treat other people. You have conversations with your friends about their relationships, with their friends, with their families. And I think she's the scariest villain of them all because of the emotional toll that she takes. Um, your mind is very powerful, and when it's manipulated and controlled, and you're constantly told one thing and one thing only, my way or the highway sort of thing, it's a very toxic and hard cycle to break out of. So I agree with that.
Any specific moment that made you realize Gobbo's manipulation was deeply toxic?
The entire movie.
Well, I mean, yeah, like from the kidnapping moment, like
Yeah,
that alone should tell you something. Yeah,
the song that she sings, I know I already mentioned it, but,
hmm
like,
Mother knows best.
yeah, like, I love my mom. She does know best when it comes to certain things, right? But I also think the times are different, you know? I think with her, the other thing that stood out to me with Gothel is she did all of this because Rapunzel's hair keeps her young, looking young. So she did all of that to maintain youth. So that kind of stood out to me.
Everything we did was self-serving.
Yeah,
Everything was, I feel like, very self-serving
absolutely.
about her. She completely, you already referenced it, but completely uh, shoots down Rapunzel's dream when she expresses it, and it's like that's kind of like that's stupid. Like, why'd you ever want to do that? Like, I know best.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think your
Which
initial,
makes her look guilty
yeah,
automatically. Like, hello,
yeah.
what are you guilty of?
Uh,
But Rapunzel doesn't know that.
that's interesting because it's like if you don't know any different, how do you know it's wrong? It's very hard
So
to know
that's why I
something's.
like Rapunzel.
Yeah.
I think she has that gut feeling. She's strong, she's independent. Um, and I think she can kind of sense that.
There's even a
And
moment though in the movie where she gets out, she's with Flynn, her mom finds them eventually, and is again bringing on like making her feel that she brought so much pain on her. And
Mhm.
there's a moment there where she's about to go back with her mom, and then there's something else that happened to kind of, oh no, this is not right. But I think we're talking like a movie timeline, and so everything speeds up just the way movies are. Is it happens at breathtaking speed throughout the movie. But yeah, there's a moment there of it's hard to get away. I think when you're used to when you're raised in a toxic environment and you don't know anything different.
Agreed.
Speaking of Rapunzel trying to break away from this high level of manipulation, gaslighting, toxic environment, do you think it is a realistic portrayal of someone trying to do that in real life?
I say yes and no. Um, yes, if you can catch on to it happening to you that quickly, right? Like you said, the movie speeds everything up because it is a movie. But also no, I think it's a lot harder than Disney makes it portray.
Yes,
Um,
totally agree.
and I think also like we're only seeing snippets in the movie, but if you are real life, I don't remember how old Rapunzel is, but if you've been dealing with that your entire life, it's not going to be that easy to break away from that. So I think yes, depending on the circumstances, no, also depending on the circumstances. But if I had to lead toward one answer, I'd say no. It's not realistic because not everybody can break away that easy from things that they know, whether they know it's toxic or not.
Definitely agree with you, and that goes to my point around the movie timeline. Typically, you know, it wouldn't be much of a movie if she didn't break away. Let's talk about Rapunzel. Let's talk about Flynn and the growth between the pair because they did both have a lot of growing to do throughout the movie. Anything that you saw Flynn teach Rapunzel, and then anything that Rapunzel teaches Flynn along their journey.
One thing that Flynn teaches Rapunzel is that you don't always have to follow the rules. You can bend them a little bit.
I like that.
Not to the point of stealing, right? We don't want Rapunzel on a wanted poster. But I think that, throughout that journey, he's kind of like, because he even picks up on it. He was like, girl, why have you been in that house so long? You don't have to live like that. But I also think Rapunzel teaches him to live like it's your first day out of the house. Because Flynn gets into this whole, like he has to check over his shoulder everywhere they go because he knows he's wanted. She's like, why do you live like that? You called me out for living that way. You can live like I am right now, be spontaneous, have fun. So I think they kind of teach each other the opposite of what they're doing. And it's really fun to watch the whole time.
What's their strongest emotional moment as a couple?
Oh my gosh, the lights.
Tell us more.
The lights. So when he takes her to finally see the lights in there in the boat, first of all, that's the best music in the entire movie. Okay. My favorite song. And when they sing together, because he looks at her, he does not give her the smolder, right? He is watching her achieve her dream. And then they are not the same people that they were when they get out of that boat. That is their strongest connection in the movie. I would argue the second strongest connection is when she cuts her hair for him, or when her
Oh,
hair gets cut, and the tear. I would say that's their second most
that's a good
emotional
call out too.
moment.
Uh,
I think it starts with the lights, and then I think after that is domino effect.
that's a good point because the hair, that's part of what defines her. And when you have something like that, that is just part of makes you who you are. And then having to do that, especially for somebody else, yeah, I think it's a great point.
Yeah.
And then back
Yep.
to your first one there, that lantern scene, there's a moment in the boat where it was all about, up until that point, getting to see these lights, getting to see the lanterns. There's a moment there, stop looking at the lights, start looking at each other. Tell your point on the strongest emotional moment.
Yep. That's my favorite part of the entire movie is the lights.
How do you see vulnerability and trust playing a part of their growth?
That's also throughout the entire movie. I think when they get stuck, I don't remember what exactly happens, but they're running away from those redheaded twins,
Yeah,
right?
what are their
And they're
names?
in
I
that.
don't even know their names.
Yeah, yeah. The twin
The
brothers.
red-headed twins. I like the way you said that. Yeah.
I can't remember their name. But they're running away from them, and then they are stuck with the water, and Flynn hurts his hand, and that's when he's like, now your hair glows. Right? Like, I couldn't imagine. It's my first day out of the house. I just met this man that I beat with a frying pan, like, I don't know, however many hours ago or days ago. And now I'm wrapping my magic hair around his hand to heal his wound and singing. And he's like, it's so funny because he's like, what? And it's so realistic, his reaction, which is what makes it the movie for adults, too, because he's like, what the heck? Your hair glows when you sing? So I think that's really vulnerable, and she trusts him, and then he knows that and he keeps that. He doesn't like try to cut her hair. He doesn't try to make her do things with her hair. He just accepts her for who she is. And I think the same thing for her. She is willing to see through what he was before because she only knows what Flynn did for her to achieve her dream. So I think they both went through a lot of growth together and separately and were vulnerable with each other. And that's how they get to the end.
Speaking of the lantern scene, do you see any relationship metaphors in that scene that's maybe bigger than just the moment with the lanterns?
The entire song that they sing is about like, now that I see you, right? Now that I see you, I'm seeing you, and the lights and the lanterns are lighting the way. I think
Yeah, I like that.
that's a good one to play off of. I think it also represents the short time that they spent together because the lanterns are only done while it's dark. Um, so that's what I would say.
Good stuff. All right, so let's do our rapid fire speed dating section here. I'm going to rifle some questions at you. Your favorite song?
My favorite song is probably the "I Have a Dream" song. I do like the lantern one, but I think that's cliche 'cause that's my favorite scene. But my favorite song is that one from the pub. It's so funny, and I actually have a funny story about it really quickly. So my best friend from kindergarten, she has a daughter. She'll be 3 in, like, a month, and, she is obsessed with Tangled. She loves that movie because of that song. And my friend did not know that that's my favorite Disney movie, so I had to tell her. We were in the car with our daughter, and I started singing the song, and me and her daughter were singing, the "I Have a Dream" song, and she was like, "I had no idea you knew all those words." I was like, "Absolutely, I do." It plays on my playlist in my car sometimes.
Do you
So
have
that's my favorite.
do you have video footage of you singing the song?
Because
Okay.
I had to play the background music on my phone too, and trust me, nobody wants to hear me sing it, I
All right.
promise. I don't have the vocal cords of a Disney princess, unfortunately.
Who is the better sidekick? Pascal, the chameleon dude, quiet but always around, or Maximus, the horse?
This is a hard one, and I don't know if this is gonna be unpopular or popular, but I'm gonna go with Pascal on this one because he's been with Rapunzel since day 1, okay? Maximus, his mood is kinda shifty sometimes,
So
okay? I
moody.
feel like you never know what you're gonna get. And with Pascal, he's quiet, you can drop him in your pocket, and he'll just come along with you, you know? So that's why I choose Pascal.
Extremely loyal.
Yes,
Extremely loyal. Been there. Yeah. Love that.
been there since day 1, you know?
Yep. Yep. If you had been invited to Rapunzel and Flynn's wedding, what gift would you have given them?
Okay, I'm gonna give them a full cast iron pot and pan set.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I would do. Maybe some utensils to go along with it.
I like that, and I'll add in a map of the world because I feel like she wants to get out and explore so much. And so they have those maps where you can like mark off or color in the places you've been. I'm getting her map of the world, and with those pans, yeah, they'll be well on their way to the best winning gifts. Well, best winning gifts with those two. On this podcast now, you've been here twice. Who do you feel like would be the better character to have on the podcast, Flynn or Rapunzel?
I feel like they'll give you 2 different types of content. So if you want wholesome content, it's gonna be Rapunzel. If you want open book, like, I'll just hit you with whatever answer
Uh-huh.
spontaneous, it's gonna be Flynn. But for the purpose of this podcast, I'll say Rapunzel is safer.
Okay, she is safer. Uh, I love Flynn though because of the smolder. He could like show us, how to do it, everything. Can't go wrong with either. Having them together, I think, would be ideal. They could balance each other out. I would love that. Never going to happen, but I can dream. I have a dream. My dream is to
Yep.
get them there. Uh, what's something the movie gets right about dating and relationships?
I think opposites attract. I don't know if
Okay.
this is true for you. It's true for me and my husband. I think Rapunzel and Flynn are opposites, and I think opposites attract. So that's what I think they got right. I also think relationships are, give and take and compromise, and you see that between the 2 of them the entire movie.
On the last episode that came out, we talked a lot about with my guests on opposites attracting. And so a very real thing. We see that in this movie as well. I also like, and I think they got this right too, where they're not trying to change each other. They're growing together, evolving together, supporting each other. I think the movie did a great job getting that right in terms of
I think so too.
relationships.
It's a good one.
What about something the movie gets wrong or doesn't translate well today?
Well, I wish my hair would glow when I would sing,
That'd be amazing. If you
or
had
that your
glowing
hair
hair,
wouldn't get tangly, where your hair would not get tangly running through the forest and swinging off of branches. Just need to know her hair care routine, honestly.
well, when I have her on the
So definitely
podcast, I'll ask her. Yeah.
the hair. But if you had to ask me something else, I think it goes back to, was it a realistic portrayal of her getting away from manipulation? And I don't think it was. Makes it look easier than it is.
And falling in love as quickly as they did, not super realistic in my mind. Again, it's a movie, and that's the way the movies often have to go, which I understand. But yeah, a couple things there, I think. Here's the big question. Where do you rank Rapunzel in terms of your favorite Disney princesses or leads?
Okay. She's number 1.
Oh, number one? There's so many good
Yes.
ones. And number one, that's at the top.
There
Okay.
are so many good ones. So it used to be Cinderella. Okay. Big Cinderella fan. However, Cinderella is a little too relaxed and compliant for my taste. I think Rapunzel, like I've said, she's a modern day, even though it takes place, you know, back then. She's a modern day representation of how women should represent themselves, in my opinion. So that's why she's number 1.
Awesome. Is Cinderella still number two?
I like Cinderella. Yeah, I think I'd need to rewatch it. I think the Tangled's been number 1 for the longest time. I do think there might be some other Disney princesses that outrank because there are other movies now. So I would say Cinderella's top 5. There are just a lot of other Disney movies that have come out with stronger female characters because of the times, right? Different times, different characters, and different storylines. So I'd say Cinderella's still in the top 5.
Rapunzel for me, number two.
Okay.
I'm putting her at number two. Very high, great character. My number one is one that you haven't mentioned yet, but I am a big fan of Belle, Beauty and the
Yes.
Beast Belle, because I need to do a Beauty and the Beast episode because I think it'd be fantastic. Doesn't give Gaston the time of day, which I think is great. She's smart. She loves to read. Like she likes her family. Good relationship with her
Yep.
dad. We don't have to get into too much of Beauty and the Beast, but she's my number one. Rapunzel is my number two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a really good choice. Um, I love Belle, so she's also in the top 5.
we should do a top five list at some point down the line.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Do you have a favorite quote from the movie?
Favorite quote from the movie? I think the scene where her hair gets cut off and she cries, and then Flynn says something sarcastic, and he's like, "Tell me more," or something like that. I think that's my favorite because it's the perfect timing when she's, like, pouring her heart out to him because she thinks he died, and then he comes in and he just hits you with some sarcastic comment that brings you back to it being funny, you know?
Yep, yep.
That's one of my favorite parts.
Speaking of her hair, I love this quote where Flynn says, "The only thing I want to do with your hair is to get out of it. Literally." Love that quote. And then here's a second quote I love, a back and forth between Rapunzel and Flynn. She says, "So I have made the decision to trust you." And Flynn responds, "A horrible decision, really." And yeah, no, get some of that sarcastic coming back early on in the movie. Some good dialogue between the two.
He's so funny the entire time. He's so sarcastic.
It's aged well too. Some movies don't, they don't age as well. And I watched it recently. It came out, I think, in 2010. It's been
Mhm.
15 years or so since the movie came out. I loved it just as much, if not more. So that one's definitely aged very well in my mind. Last segment we're going to do here, Sarah, is after the happily ever after. We're discussing the likely outcome or thoughts on the future of the relationship once the credits start rolling. Where do you think Rapunzel and Flynn would be today? And do you think that they would last long term?
I do think that they would last long term. Um, I think that they would be successful in their relationship. I've imagined they'd be living at the castle with her parents. So different lifestyle. Um, and they probably have a kid or two, I'd say.
I'll say I feel like the answer to this question is always a maybe because there's lots of unknowns that we don't know. But I'm
Huh.
going to say yes, I believe they would last long term, and that's just because I feel like they have a lot of the traits that we saw in the movie that are good for successful, healthy relationships. You know, growing together, inspiring each other, vulnerability, communication. The good moments we see throughout them, and becoming a couple throughout the film transcend well to long-lasting and healthy relationships. What's something that the audience should take away from Tangled?
Well, don't be scared to hit an intruder with a frying pan. That's what you need to do. Something to take away from Tangled. I think you see a lot of give and take in their relationship. And I think that's something to keep in mind in your own relationships, whether it's a friend, um, your significant other. I think another thing too, if it feels like someone's manipulating you, they might be. So explore that more. Um, and then the last thing I'll say to take away from Tangled is sarcasm is very much alive and well in relationships. Just make sure you use it appropriately. So,
What about a sequel? If there was a Tangled sequel, what should the plot be for this potential Tangled sequel?
okay, so I've thought a lot about
Well, I
this.
like it.
It's going to be similar to what happens with Rapunzel. However, it's going to switch. So they're going to have a son. Okay. Flynn and Rapunzel have a son, and he's going to be one of the next in line for whatever is going to happen at the castle. But he doesn't want to, and he wants to explore life outside of the castle. But he's not destined for that. So, guess who goes on a journey, maybe with Maximus in tow,
I like it.
to experience the outside world, but in a different way, not necessarily locked in a tower, but beyond the walls of the castle and the little town that they're in.
Love it. We got to make this movie. I was thinking about that question too, and I see very easily we could weave this into your plot. A mysterious threat comes back from Flynn's past. He's got some form of some shady past, probably dealt with some shady characters, and so we could have something happen there. But the most important thing in the sequel, Pascal needs a bigger role. I want
Yeah,
this. I want him to start talking. I think Pascal, the chameleon, needs a bigger role. Um,
justice for Pascal.
yes. Oh, that could be the name of the movie. Maybe he's like the main character. Just totally switch it.
It's so
You know.
funny.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thanks so much for being here again on Date Like the Movies, discussing one of our favorite films, Tangled. Thanks so much to the listeners again for tuning in. And remember to like, subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of Date Like the Movies. Until next time, my friends, keep dating. Thanks so much.